So I want to share with you some ideas on a path called Jnana Bhakti, or knowledge and bhakti. On March 7th, 1885, Sri Ramakrishna is having a talk with Haripada, and he mentions a type of bhakti called Jnana Bhakti, which is love of God that's based on knowledge or reasoning. And he doesn't say much more about it that I've seen, but I've been very curious about it. It was a very attractive idea. And so I've been working on it and contemplating it for quite some time, and gathered several different little pieces from actually a lot of different writings, which I really don't know that I could sort them out to give direct references, but certainly The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle is there. The poetry of Ila Chiaro is also a big player in that, the work of Jnana Yoga, and of course the writings of Vivekananda. I can't say anything without referring them. But it's this idea that this moment, this very moment, is the divine. From the Christian scriptures, I like that idea that God's name is the I Am. And the meaning in that, a very deep meaning in that, is that this moment without past or future is the divine, is the beloved. And this can be experienced, the beloved can be directly experienced through the silence of mind in this moment. When the waves of the mind have subsided, the waves in the mind, the disturbance in the mind that are caused by me and mine, which manifests as either missing something or wanting something in the moment that is or isn't there. So it's really about a full acceptance of the moment, seeing the moment as perfect, realizing that no change is necessary, that all change is in the disturbed mind, that it's just thought. It brings in that idea that this world is not a world, it's a mind, it's our mind, that we live in a world, in a set of symbols that we call the world, that we call the external world, that we can't verify an external world. And I know that's a weird idea, but if you think about it, all of the information that your inner world is built on comes in through the senses. So just through information, nothing comes in directly, and we don't know the source of that information. It can't be verified. So that's where this idea of living in a mind comes from. And because we live in a mind, everything within that mind is merely thought, that there's not any actuality or substantiality to it. And that's why we call it illusion, because you as the divine, which we're not aware of, which we don't know in a conscious kind of way, is the only substantiality that gives everything existence. And so the severity of this disturbance really depends on the strength of your ego. How attached are you to the changes you want to see in the moment? How attached are you to the things that you deem to be missing from the moment, or things that you want to change in the moment, to make it different or to make it perfect? So the depth of your attachment to your own ideas determines the strength of your ego, and that determines the strength and vitality of the waves in the mind. And those waves and disturbances in the mind prevent you from experiencing God directly. And under severe conditions, God seems non-existent at all, cannot be experienced, seems like a ridiculous idea, as a matter of fact. And so when Ramakrishna talks about that it's very difficult for a common man to get rid of ego completely, or maybe even impossible, he talks about a ripe ego. And a ripe ego is an ego that's aware of the disturbance that it causes in mind, and therefore is willing to surrender or minimize its effect in order to open to this experience of God, of silence in the mind, of letting go of the need of thought running through the mind, really hitting a silent mind. So this awareness, once this awareness that the ego manages to develop about itself and its problem-causing or wave-causing nature in the mind, that awareness acts as the internal guru. It actually tries to minimize or undo through the full acceptance of the moment, the blindness that the ego is causing. Devotion for bhakti, this love of God, it actually lies in the full acceptance of God, which means the full acceptance of the moment is perfect, the full acceptance of the I am as being, the all-encompassing, eternal, ever-free, ever-pure, unconditioned love of isness, of existence, of God, of the divine. And it's that full acceptance in the moment being enough, that God is enough, God as moment, God as the peace that passes understanding that occurs when silence of the mind is experienced. That is our devotion. That is our love of God. The pure acceptance of this moment as the beloved, as the I am in it, and finding all of our contentment from this unchanging stillness that is our true nature within. The resulting silence of the mind is grace. That's what grace is. It's that silence in the mind, which means a freedom from samskara, from our past actions, because without the movement of mind, there is no cause and effect. Without the sequence of thinking, there is no time. There's no experience of change. And in that lies pure grace, the gift of the divine, to the soul that has decided to love love more than it loves its own ignorance, its own idea of self. And this frees you from your what's called the samskaras, from your past actions, because in silent mind, there is no memory or speaking of past action, no images or thoughts, should-bes, mights, regrets, desires. All of those things subside in silent mind because there is no messenger. There's no one to bring them to affect the self, which is your true nature. And this freedom that exists in that experience of pure mind, of silent mind, is that freedom of being. It's the freedom from fear. It's the freedom from smallness. And it's able to see the moment in its fullness. And in that seeing the moment in its fullness without a bias developed by active ego, in that seeing the perfection of the moment, it's able to act perfectly in the moment as response and not as reaction, which is a different experience altogether. So this, possibly, is Bhakti-Jnana.